I'm all about the group chat.
Okay, so we're live. If we're dark, if you can't really see some of us, suck it up, put up with it. I didn't have anything else to say there, so yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, so welcome. We are going to have a discussion today. There's going to be, how'd you put it? It's going to be as candid and raw as possible with a Christian perspective. So as much, we're going to have freedom within constraints. So we'll do whatever we can, but it's just important to highlight that for this discussion on oral sex and everything that we're going to talk about, we want to have it from a Christian perspective, but we also want to have it from a very real and practical perspective. So we'll be talking about some things that we might not be able to say in church on a very good day. But yeah, we're gonna live.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna live.
And
we'll do this. Faith bump.
That's what I did. Anyway, for those that are joining us and just watching our YouTube channel for the first time, please allow me to introduce myself. My name's Elizabeth, and this wonderful man that just spoke, his name is Ugo, and we are Youthful Vibes, and we are all about bringing fun and enlightenment to the journey of youth. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you watching the rest of our videos later on, but I'm gonna let everybody else introduce themselves.
Yeah, before they do that, real quick, we would like to encourage you to participate as we start. When the actual discussions start, please feel free to ask questions and comment. We're going to try to we'll keep on reading them and probably alternate between whatever questions we get and the questions that we already got before now. And with that, let us start with the introductions. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. My name is Anu Oluwapo Mustafa. Yes.
Nice.
Want me to go?
She goes by Anu.
Oh yeah, I mean you can call me Anu. That's fine. Not everyone calls me like Anu Oluwapo, so Anu that works.
My name is Addie Kemi Odewade, and I go by Kemi. So hi everyone.
Hi Kemi.
Hello everyone. My name is Kumi Akimboni. I go by Kumi.
Awesome.
K-Money.
All right. So with that, is there anything else you want to cover in terms of anything else you want to go over before we start?
No, I think you covered it all when we started. So
okay. I'm gonna now put a timer on and get started. So our objective will be to get done with this in about 30 minutes, plus or minus whatever else comes up, but we'll shoot for 30 minutes. Okay, so here we go. First question. In talking about oral sex, first question is, what is oral sex?
What is it?
Who'd like to go first?
Are we talking about like the biological, like are we talking about like from an anatomy standpoint, or are we talking about from like a sex standpoint? Because I mean, if we're talking about anatomy, I can let you know what oral sex is anatomically.
Yeah, okay. Who wants to go first? I don't care what first.
Let you go first, Nikki.
Okay, well,
in terms of anatomy. So and then
okay. Well, when we talk about okay. All right, when we talk about oral sex, we are talking about using your mouth. So mouth to genital area. So mouth to vagina or anus for those that are out there that like that. I mean, we're being candid. Yeah. We're being real here. So mouth to vagina to anus or penis and anus. Yes. Okay,
so all in all, it's instead of putting the thing where it goes, you put it in your mouth, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
If you don't understand what that means, you shouldn't be watching this video.
Please, 18 and okay, no, I shouldn't say that.
Anyway, okay. So does anyone else want to add anything else to it? I feel like we're kind of warming up here, so it's kind of a bit weird.
Like that's pretty much it. It's what we have, different names, giving head, going down there, like so it's pretty much covers it all. Even the anatomy covers it all. So
Okay, so we all on the same page. It's
Yep.
using, yeah, okay. So
Using your mouth to
that's
do
oral, so there's mouth involved, and then there's sex. So there's some part of it that has to do with giving someone else pleasure using your mouth. And you know, most commonly put would be mouth to genital area.
Yes.
Okay, there's some other areas that, but for the most part, it's genital area. Okay, so
not gentle.
genital. I just said genital. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so then the next thing that I want to talk about is we want to look at a subject from two different perspectives. First, from a married couple's perspective, and then from just more generally. And by more generally, I mean people who were not married, or people who were in a relationship, or people who were engaged. So starting with the married perspective, the question is it wrong? Is it a sin to have oral sex within the context of marriage? Anybody can go, please feel free.
You said anyone can go. I think it's just between me and you.
That's between the married folks. Well, I mean, the single people can answer also from like what your perspective of whether or not you believe that in your marriage it would be wrong.
Well, I can go because I feel so when it comes to oral sex within marriage, right? I feel it is more, what are you comfortable doing as a couple is what I feel it is. There's so many people that do way more than the missionary style. It's what you feel comfortable doing. And if you feel like you're guilty after doing it, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it if you feel guilty after doing it. So it's an agreement where you and your partner have to just come to just understanding that.
Who's counting that?
Have to understand that, okay, this is something we're both agreeing on. The moment one person doesn't feel comfortable about it, then that's something that you guys have to talk about, whether you're not doing it anymore or whether, you just have to figure it out. So that's what I think it is. So this is my own view. That's what I think it is. So.
Okay, what do you think? Who else wants to go? Within the context of marriage.
Yeah, within the context of marriage. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
You can still answer.
So I was about to say, not just narrowing down to oral sex, like whatever type of sexual activity within marriage, as long as the husband and wife agree, I think anything goes. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. I completely agree with what Kemi and Kool-Aid have said. I think yesterday when we were talking about some of this stuff, we stumbled upon a Bible scripture. And basically, it's like we're talking about the intimacy of a married couple. You can go as far, as long, as wide, as, whatever you want, as long as you leave your marriage bed undefiled, because that intimacy is between the both of you and no one can tell you what you can and can't do within the confines of your marriage, as long as you're not stepping outside and you're like, oh, let's bring a third person up in here. Then we're going to have a conversation.
So in summary, what we're saying is to each his own, right?
As long as you're married.
As long as you're married, well, this is within the context of marriage here.
Well,
Within the context of marriage, from our opinion, we're saying to each his own, right? If you guys both feel comfortable about it, then you guys both don't feel like nobody feels used and it's something that's fun for both parties, then to each his own.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Next question. So now I think that kind of covers the marriage aspect of it. So now everything else is going to be under the non-married. You're not hitched with anybody. We're just talking about oral sex and this is discussion. So it's not a yes or no type question. I mean, some of them are flat out yes or no if you're thinking about it that way. But if we want to just delve in a bit deeper into the discussion, I want to say let's elaborate and make it fun. So the question is, if penetrating sex is a sin when you're not married, then is oral sex a lesser sin because technically you're not really going in nowhere? What do you guys think?
I think we should let the single folks.
Okay, I think I'll go first. I would say that sin is sin at the end of the day. Because when we're talking about it yesterday, I mean, I think Kemi said something about at the end of the day, you're still giving a part of yourself to, someone, especially, you're not married to this person. So God forbid you don't get married to this person and then you do that and then you do that to somebody else. So how many pieces, how much of yourself have you really given to everyone? So at the end of the day, I would say that sin is still oral sex. You're still having sex at the end of the day. So you say like penetration, the male organ is still penetrating in your mouth. I mean, there's a penetration going on. So yeah.
Could you increase the volume of your thing a bit? I'm having a bit of a hard time hearing it.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, much better. So did you say something about penetration?
So I was saying
I heard that. I was just kidding. All right, what do you think? Kemi, what do you think? Kula, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I can go. Wow. Kula is still putting this.
Kula is putting together his thoughts.
So I was going to say, the whole idea is the act, right? It's still the act. It's the fact that, just like Anu mentioned, you're giving a little bit of yourself away. It's the act. So whether you are penetrating, whether you are giving oral sex from the female to the male, from the male to the female, it's still the action. There's still a time that is, put into that act. So I feel like if you're not married, there's no point going there. And then eventually oral sex will eventually lead to the real thing in the long run. That's just
wait, okay. But now I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little, okay?
I'm sorry.
And I have to, just so we can extract real value from this conversation. So let's just say you're the girl and there's a guy and the guy is saying, I think you're cute, you think I'm cute, we've been together and now I'm in this relationship and I'm committed. You can tell because I'm not stepping out on you, but you got to give me something, something you have to at least. So if you're so Christian that we can't, do the deed, is this then permissible? Because if you're not giving it to the guy, then how about the thing about the guy stepping out because he wants something?
Well, who wants to go?
I think I'll start us off on this. I think it's very important to have these discussions early on in the relationship about where you see yourself going and setting boundaries, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. Because if it gets to that point where someone is making you choose between your values and your relationship, I feel like it just gives you an insight to that person's, to really see that person in a new light and see their true form, so to say. Because it's like, if you really are committed, you would not push me to do something that I am not comfortable with, something that I have said from the get-go that I don't want to do. Then it lets you know that, hey, maybe this relationship is not going to work out, because you don't want someone that's going to cause you to defile yourself just to please them and then cause you to sin. And then you end up feeling guilty. And on the inside, it ends up rotting that relationship, honestly, in the long run. Even if you do stay in it, you'll end up like, you'll have some clarity later on. After you keep going back and you keep feeling terrible and terrible and terrible, you're going to be like, okay, something's got to give. And as much as it's going to hurt for you to let that guy or that girl go, you're going to have to. And then you're going to have to rebuild yourself, because that's what ultimately ends up happening. Because I feel like in the beginning, we've discussed, you give a part of yourself away, whether it's penetrative sex or oral sex, you give a part of yourself away, and you're going to end up having to recover it after you end up breaking up the relationship.
Okay, question. Should you feel bad though? Because already a lot of people, a vast majority of people don't get the sex talk to begin with. So their parents don't actually sit them down and say, hey, this is sex, this is what it means, this is what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Other than, hey, watch the way you act around guys, because if a guy comes in close proximity to you, you might get pregnant, right? Aside that whitewashy type conversation, how do you know it's wrong? Like, how do you know that for a guy who you were in a committed relationship with, that oral sex is wrong?
Quinn, you want to say?
I just go. I'll just go, right? I mean, it all boils down to like the foundation of things, right? I mean, everybody has different foundations. Like if you're either a believer or you're not a believer, and I believe you construct your foundations based off on that. So if there's two godly people that have come together and say that they have a godly relationship, obviously like the foundation is going to be very spiritual, and then you're gonna be going off of obviously what God wants or what God says about certain situations that pertain to you and your other significant other in our relationship. So it just depends. So we live in a world where people have different foundations, people have different mindsets about different topics, and so they live their lives based on that. So from a spiritual perspective now, we're saying, okay, the Bible is going to be like our main point of like focus,
Direction.
Reference, right?
Direction. So I mean, we all have friends that don't think anything of it because obviously like they have some other thing that guides their life, So I think it's just relative to the individual or to the couple. So if two of you have definitely decided that, okay, we're in a committed godly relationship, then two of you should have conversations of, okay, like, are we supposed to be doing this? Is this bad or is this not? Is this good? And I think in that aspect, it's like it's two-faced in the sense of, I feel like if you are in a relationship with a person, in a godly relationship with a person, and mistakes do happen sometimes. At that point, two of you can basically, obviously the conscience and everything, and you guys will basically bring yourselves back up. But if it's a situation where it's like one person that is, trying to, get some sexual pleasure, and it's causing the other person to, like, then at that point you're gonna have to ask yourself questions like, okay, what exactly is value system here?
And I completely agree from a sexual pleasure perspective. I think in addition to what you said, that's kind of what it boils down to. Getting sexual pleasure from anybody outside of the context of marriage is sin, period, right? If you're looking at it from a black and white perspective, but realistically, knowing that this is the world that people live in every day, I believe that it still boils down to doing something to satisfy someone's sexual craving. That's how you would define, that's how, at least personally, I'll define it as sin.
Yeah, I just want to read a comment that we got. Sex is not a currency. Like, I personally don't have to give you anything because it's not like I'm paying you for us to be in this relationship. And I completely agree with that.
Okay. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, a lot of people say it as it's something to keep the relationship going, right? So I'm not doing the so-called act. So it means that, I'm not actually sinning because I'm not doing the full act. So let me just do this little thing here. But it's like the moment you feel like you have to hide it, then it's sin. So
yeah. And then I know another question we got yesterday was someone talking about, I've been in this relationship for a year now, and I feel like we're kind of at the point where, we should be doing something. Like, okay, so at that point, what do you do? Like, you feel like you've been in a relationship for a year and you just, it's not even like I want to keep the guy type of thing, but it's you feel like this is the next step for our relationship. So like, what advice would you give someone who feels that way?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was going to say, my question would be, what makes you think that's the next step?
Okay, this is not me talking. This is me talking for again, playing devil's advocate, right? So you know how it is. Like you're dating a guy, and you guys have been, and again, this whole thing is assuming that the girl is the one who is giving something up. Okay, let's not even talk about situations where the guy is the one who is being asked to do stuff. But anyway,
I didn't ask him to do anything.
What's that about you?
I was just saying, because I mean, we're both sitting here.
This is not.
Bro, like.
Put that out there.
No, there's no. Let's say the guy is the one who's on the drugs. Okay, but okay. So the question is, you're dating this guy. You're the girl. You're dating this guy. You guys have been together for a while. and he's shown his intentions. He's spoiled you in every way possible. He's taken you out. He's done all these things. And he says, hey, we're going to get married. Like, I know it's you. I believe you know it's me, or at least you think it's me. So we're on the same page and we're so in love, right? And we're so emotionally connected that I want to express my love to you. But I know that you're a Christian, so I can't do it sexually in that way. Would you then say, since you can't get pregnant, since there's no real scars, right? Would you then say that it's okay to consider oral sex? How would you handle that if he's asking for oral sex in that way?
I think that if he's telling me I'm the one he wants to spend the rest of my life with, or his life with, however that goes, he should be able to still wait. If I'm the one you end up with, bro, then what is the problem? Another year or 6 months will not kill you.
Yeah.
It kind of.
I mean, that's not to say that. But then if he does step out, then maybe he's not worth it. That's just the truth. I mean, that's not to say that things like this don't happen. They do happen, but it just boils down to, okay, how much I value this person. Am I really willing to wait for this person? If she's going to be mine, then I waited this long. How waiting again would not kill me or whatever. I mean, in your situation, you can share experiences. I don't know what went down, but like, but I'm just saying.
Okay. What if we're progressive and said, what if he puts a ring on it? So he shows his commitment by putting a ring on it.
Yeah, that's
still
doesn't mean anything.
Someone asked, what if it's 5 years? What if it's 5 years? What?
What if it's 5 years and you've been together?
That's a long time. Like,
why?
It's not a lot of the rings, though. This is a long time for you guys to be.
Wait, hold on. Though I've been in a relationship for more than 5 years.
Hold on. Except Except if there's distance that is like, if there's other circumstances that is not allowing you guys to be together. Because when you think about it, it's all about self-control, right? If this person is actually saying that they're going to spend the rest of their life with you, self-control. Because when you actually get into the marriage, you still have to practice self-control either way. So
okay.
No,
hold on. I think we're being too theoretical. I think unless you're going to say something,
I feel like I need to say something. I think that it's very important for us to address something here. So when we're in a relationship and we get to the point where we feel like, man, I'm going to lose him because he wants this and I can't, I'm not ready to give it to him and he's pushing. Ladies, I feel like it's important for us to know you are worth the wait. You are worth waiting for someone that is going to be aligned in your values and your views and what it is that you want. Because honestly, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Y'all, when I broke up with my ex, the guy that I was dating in college, yeah, we thought we were going to be together for forever. I met his parents. We thought we were going to get married. Yeah, I know. I'm African and I don't know what I was thinking because Lord knows that my parents were like, what the heck are you doing? So, but like, I really thought that we were going to get married. And honestly, after we broke up, after reality hit that, oh man, I have given a part of myself to someone that like, I'm not even going to see tomorrow. Because first of all, now we're already going to two completely different schools. I've shared this before. I went into a depression. I went into a period where I had to build myself back up. I went into a period where I was like, man, why did I do that? What made me do that? I grew up in church. I'm a child of God. Like I should have known better, but I did it anyway. And I feel like mine wasn't even because I felt like I was going to lose him. Mine was because, it's the natural progression of a relationship. This is what we're supposed to do next. This is what everybody's doing. I guess peer pressure, whatever. But is it worth it for you to lose a piece of yourself and for you to spend so much more time having to regain it than for you to just keep yourself where you are with what you have, knowing that you're worth it, knowing that there's someone that's going to come along, that's going to cherish you, that's going to love you, that's going to pour as much of themselves into you as you're going to pour into them? Like, you have to ask yourself that question. And if the answer is, yes, I'm worth it, then if you got to leave that relationship, I'm sorry, honey boo boo, but you got to leave that relationship. Then if the answer is no, I'm gonna pray for you. I mean, I know that not everyone comes to that realization immediately. It took me a second, and I'm married. So you're going to be like, oh, well, you know, you're married now. You got your man. I'm trying to hold on to mine. But I still had to go through that journey. And I'm hoping for you to not have to go through something that other people have gone through or something that I've gone through.
He's just basically saying.
Also the idea of, if I do this, I'm holding on to him. Like, I'm doing this. And I don't know why we females feel like we have to get to that point where it's like, I have to keep this relationship together. So the only way I can keep it together is for me to give a little bit of myself.
Okay. So for Colleen, what were you going to say?
I was just about to say, obviously, like with sex talk in general, there's different complexities to it, right? I mean, I've had some of my friends, when we're having discussions like this, and they're saying, "Oh, like, but it, you know, like there's some people that exist out there that don't see sex as a big deal." Like, let's be honest, you know, like, I mean, for somebody like me, if I indulge in it, I'll probably like want to go and hang myself.
Sure, of course.
Google. Yeah. I mean, obviously, based on like the kind of person I am, obviously value systems, the spiritual aspect of it, but there are people out there that don't see anything. That they do it one day, they wake up and move on with their lives the next day.
Yeah.
So sometimes having to like have conversations with them about issues like this is like, but it's just sex, you know, like
what's so big about it?
Exactly, like we have to be realistic. Like that's the world we live in today, you know.
Like,
there's people out there that
I don't know if it's people that don't. What I feel like a lot of people are in denial, right? Like, I don't care. Like,
it could be.
I'll just do it. And then the thing is, you don't know what they do behind closed doors. You don't know if they're actually regretting that.
Right.
I try to do it to fit in. Like, okay, you know, my friends are doing it, so let me do it to fit in, or let me say that. So it's just little stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to steer this discussion because we're 20-something minutes in, and we've only tackled 2 questions, and there's like 16 of them.
Wait, hold on. Someone did ask a question on YouTube, though. Okay. They said, "What if it is the lady that can't hold themselves?"
Well, that's true. I mean, that's real talk, though.
It is real talk, and I feel like some parts of what we said is good to hear. But it's not super practical when you're the one in the relationship that's facing, like, you've committed a year or so of your life to this guy or to this girl or this lady, and they're saying, hey, give me something or it's over, right? It's not as easy as, okay, you know what, walk. I have self-esteem. I believe in myself. I'm the woman, okay?
So babe, what'd you do?
I feel like we have to drop some practical tips on how to handle that. Like how do you really deal with that? If the woman is saying, hey, give me heads, or I'm going to bounce, or I'm going to go to Jerome and have him do it, then what do? Do you go pray about it? Do you go talk to God about it? Like what do you, like, how do you?
Guys, what do you do?
Okay,
so
if it were me, are you a guy?
No.
Then it will be a hard decision to begin with. I mean, it'll be a very hard decision. But I feel like it's the kind of decisions that you have to make before you get to that moment. Because if you're looking to make it in that moment, there's a lot of emotions. You know, there's this research that I learned about, and I'm not going to go super geeky on everybody, but it says that when you do the MRI of people who are in love, it's literally a replica of people who are on crack, on drugs, right? So you compromise your prefrontal cortex. Like, so you don't expect someone who's in love to think straight, and everything you're saying is logical, but the brain is not logical in the moment. So I feel like you have to make a decision before you get to the point where you have to take action. So you're not deciding then because you've already pre-decided. So if it's me, if my decision is that I want to keep myself pure, then I'm gonna have to revert it on her and tell her, hey, I'm not gonna do it. So if this is the end of our relationship, then so be it. But if I've not made the decision before time, that's where I feel like your friends come in. That's why you have to have a circle of friends that will help you think.
Steer you in the right direction, not the ones not the ones that are gonna be like, yeah, do it. What you waiting for?
I'm like, she cute. You know the story.
Like, if you don't hit it, I'm gonna hit it.
like bring them wrong way, I'll do it for her. You know, like the story of what's the guy in the Bible that had to run away from a lady that went Joseph. That story is, to me, I feel like he's a hero Okay, because I mean, come on, beautiful woman asking you to do something, it's difficult. Okay, but if you decide ahead of time and your faith and spiritually speaking, you really want to do it, but you're having a hard time and you can't think clearly, that's where you have friends that have similar values as you who will help you, and you have to listen to those friends because you know that at that time you're not really thinking straight.
Right. There is something that I feel like we've all kind of touched on, but we've never really sat on. And that's the part that we need to create boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. We need to set boundaries and values and goals for our relationship from the get-go. And I feel like you've touched on that. So I think let's talk about that. What kind of boundaries do you need to set? How do you go about setting those boundaries in a relationship so that you can continue to maintain that purity that you want to in a relationship?
How do you set the boundaries? Who wants to go?
And what kind of boundaries?
Who wants to go? Well, I can go. I think Ugo mentioned, having like friends that kind of keep you accountable, right? So if you have friends where you are already telling them when it's 9 o'clock, call my phone if I haven't called you. If I'm home yet, call my phone to make sure that I'm home. I don't know. I never went like on a date with my friends with me. It was just more like, okay, I know that I had to be at home at a certain time. Did I go past the 9 o'clock sometime? So I think just knowing the person you're dating also, know whether, their love language. Some people are touchy people. Don't end up in the place where you start touching and the light is off. Before you know it.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking of lights off, a certain somebody would not go to the movies with me because he thought something was gonna go down. So when we were dating, we went to the movies like once, and we didn't stay for the entire film. We left.
Was it that good, the movie, or which part?
No. You don't put me on blast like that.
Let me ask a question.
I got you.
You said what, Khalid?
I have a question on that movie scenario though. Like,
right,
what movie were you guys watching?
Actually, I remember it was that Will Smith movie, Focus, that had just come out.
I see what.
Yes.
All right, so Kemi's, I'm gonna pivot based on Kemi's last comment about the person's love language, but love language it sounds like a big term. But basically, the question is, if since you're not married and you can't have sex, then fingering, touching, masturbation, hand jobs, dry humping, are those sin as well? So as well as they've now thrown all these other things that the same bucket as oral sex. They have oral sex and you have all these other things. Are they sin, and how do you deal with them? How do you handle them within the context of a relationship?
For single
No, question clear? Huh?
This is for single.
This is for single. We've already said if you're married, to each his own, right?
You got finger, hand job, sock, lick,
all things are
whatever.
possible.
All right, Annie, you want to go?
Okay, at the end of the day, I mean, it still boils down to conversations, communication, talk to your partner, like, okay, this is, if, say I have a certain standard or values about like things like this now, we have to communicate about that and then be like, okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. It's not easy. It's not easy. That's why you shouldn't go to like the movies in the dark and watch Focus, because some people just get carried away by focusing on what is beside them than the movie you're watching, So
dim lights, dark room, a certain kind of, send the mood and all. Yeah, you're gonna tell me. And the girl's cute. And the girl's cute too. You're gonna tell me you're gonna stay on that focus and just pray to Jesus the whole time. No.
So I feel like you should, rather than doing all the romantic stuff, man, engage yourself, go rock climbing. Don't just put yourself in a position whereby,
go hiking, right? Do something else.
Start to rise and then you be tempted to do stuff. Communicate about that and then know where you can go and where you cannot go so it doesn't push you to do certain things. It's not easy. That's just point blank period. It's not. So it takes two to like understand, okay, this is what so if one person is slacking the other person is, like, okay, remember we had this conversation and this is what we're standing for. But if it's just one person that understands that, it's kind of hard to actually carry the other person along.
Gotcha. Yeah. So are you putting everything in the same bucket then?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So
Kunle
again,
wanted to say something.
Yeah, Kunle. So again, we're talking about fingering, we're talking about oral sex, we're talking about masturbation, we're talking about hand jobs, we're talking about dry humping, the whole thing. What do you think? What do you
Why
think?
is Kunle smiling, please?
I mean,
veteran.
he's a veteran. I mean, honestly, like the reality of it is, yes, it's a sin because obviously, like you can derive sexual pleasure from all those things. But realistically speaking, in my own situation, like I'm a very physical person. Like, like I'm always out there touching, and I'm that kind of guy. No, I'm just going real. Like I'm a very physical person. And obviously I struggle with. I mean, there's in that bucket of what the items you mentioned. There's, I mean, I'll say like maybe I struggle with like one of them. I'm just going to be very honest, but like, so I mean, as a whole, the boundary helps because I mean it helps that I and my girlfriend, like we have very strong, like we have a very strong value system. It doesn't mean that we will not like fall and just lose concentration every now and then, because there are times where you just be like really comfortable. You get that, and then you can just slide into doing other things. But I don't know. It's just for me in my own situation. It's just how we know each other, and we get to that point where if we're going to intense, we just kind of look at each other and be like, yeah, all right. Let's just wrap it up here right now and let's go.
Yeah. So I think struggle.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, first of all, like that's why it's important that two of you are on the same page in the first place. And then you knowing the person knowing you as well. You can kind of like just bounce off those each other's energy and know. For me, I kind of have like levels to it. So like I know that the height is that one. Jigger and the bottom of that hierarchy, we're struggling with things there, so
it's time to walk away. Okay.
It's definitely a sin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And talking about setting boundaries, someone also mentioned don't stay overnight. Yes, I think that's very important. Just to share a little bit about Ugo and I's dating story.
Nobody asked for that. Okay, so next question. Next question.
It's rude to cut someone off when they're talking. Okay.
Let that come.
Just to share a little bit about Ugo and I's dating story, which we're probably going to do a video. I told him we need to do a video on it later.
I am not doing a video.
But yes, we are. So he was living in Kansas while I was living in Georgia. And of course I would visit. And so again, we had already set boundaries from the get-go. Like we are not going to do this. We know that we're in this relationship to get married, but we're going to try our best. Yes, we were like, we're not dating just to date.
Yeah, we'll just say about anything about marriage.
Whatever. Anyway, he knew he was gonna marry me.
He said
right.
She said it in her head. Yeah, to herself.
Whatever. So of course, like visiting, what we would do is we were the ones that had the chaperone. So we would have a chaperone whenever I would stay over. He would like sleep in the living room, and me and his friend, like we would take the bed, or like we would be in the living room and he would take the bed, or whatever, vice versa. But we always made sure that in those situations we were never alone.
And again, all in the spirit of setting boundaries. It's lame. I'm gonna tell you, it's lame.
Yeah.
But if you're playing the long game, and if you're trying to set up with a person that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, and certain things that are not fun need to go into place so that you can eventually have fun and have it freely within your marriage.
Yeah.
Okay, we will not have enough time because I didn't want us to go past 30 minutes, but we've now gone way past 30 minutes. So let's wrap it up with this last question, and then we can just go do a quick roundtable and call it a night. This is calling for part 2, but we'll see. All right, so last question. Damn, which one? Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. Okay, last question is, talk about I feel like it's last two, but okay, last question. Talk about if penetrating sex is usually associated with some form of emotional dependency. So now you have this soul tie to this person, and whether or not, if you don't know what soul tie is, look it up. So we're not spending time talking about it, but you now have a soul tie to this person that even after you're married, if you're not careful, you will carry the memories into your marriage. So if that's a known fact about penetrating sex. Anyway, the actual sex, is it the same thing with oral sex?
Okay, Kemi, I think Kemi wants to go.
I was thinking about it. You can go.
Okay. I would say that at the end of the day, like we said from the get-go, is giving a part of yourself to someone. So even if you go into your marriage, see, you still carry memories. And even, okay, say you just pass by the person in the store. All those memories of this stuff, don't you think you remember? You don't remember.
What if you're in a different city? What if you got ready to move?
See, whatever setting, I feel like if you don't deceive yourself by saying you would forget, it's a lie. It's your body. Like, you used your body for something. You cannot forget. It's just like, I hate to bring this up, but it's just like a rape story, right? You can never forget, even if you're married. It's something that happened to you. So whether you're married or not, these are things that you would still remember. Except God just says, okay, forget.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Which never really happens.
I think it's easy to forget too. So the way that I think about it is, when it comes to oral sex, right? It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like what Energy said, but it's the fact that even just dating anybody, when you get into the marriage, you still remember the people that you've dated. So the same thing with oral sex, right? What if you get married to somebody who doesn't feel comfortable? Now you've done it and you have all the memories, because whether you get pleasure from it or not, now you're married to somebody who's not giving it to you. So what are you doing at that instant? And it's the whole act of you now comparing your husband with somebody else.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation. That is a whole other conversation. But Kuwait, did you have something to say?
Anything additional to say before we wrap up?
I mean, I was just about to say, okay, can we all just, I'm hearing like memories for like sexual ties. Can we all just align on like what the definition of a sexual tie is again, for, just for everyone's knowledge?
I don't know. I think conceptually, and this is just my definition, I don't claim that it's perfect, but I think it's some level of a connection, like a deep connection you form with someone who you've had sexual encounters with. And typically, like, whether or not you realize it, you carry that experience or that person with you to your marriage. And there's also a form of emotional dependency to that experience or to that person, even though they're not there anymore physically. And there's also there's a level of, for the most part, there's a spiritual component to it. And now you have to go through the journey of separating yourself from that person so that certain things don't trigger those memories anymore. Because it could go as far as compromising your own marriage, because now you're having sex with your spouse, and in your mind, it's not your spouse, it's somebody else. So those kind of bonds and, deep dependencies are what we're calling soul ties.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say that they don't, I can have sex with this person and it's okay. I don't think about, it's soul tie.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I want to wrap up this way. First of all, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do that. Do that like right now before you forget, like right now. All right. And then we're probably going to do a follow-up to this, just so we can hit the rest of the questions, most probably. If not, we're going to try to do some more live discussions and just bring hot topics and table them and kind of dissect them and see where we go with it.
Yeah, I feel like we need to have a conversation about that marriage part that Kimmy was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a whole other conversation, like going into your marriage after you've made mistakes in your past. Like, how do you go into your marriage and not mess up your relationship or your sex life? Yeah. because of the things that you've done in the past.
Okay, and then I want to wrap up before we do a quick roundtable. I want to wrap up by saying, regardless of, so we think and we believe, in accordance to the Bible as Christians, that sexual activity outside of marriage is wrong. It's a sin. But if you have, or if you're struggling with it, I also want to make sure that we understand that we have such a receiving and understanding relationship with God. We're supposed to, that you can always come back to God and he will forgive you every time. It's not validation for you to do it, but it's always better to run back to the arms of God than to try to make it through or try to cope outside of it. Right. And that's my parting word to everyone out there is, we're talking about this, and some people will probably do it again tonight, right? It's for some people it's a struggle, but just truthfully speaking, it's better for you to be at your lowest in the arms of God than for you to try to figure it out on your own outside of him. Yeah. Anyone else has anything?
I think you should also try to use like a Bible verse to back that up, because there are some people that will be like, okay, what verse in the Bible says this? Like you can just kind of help with that and just back that up with the verse.
Sure.
So are you going to do that, or are you asking me to? Because I was looking at
I'm asking you to, because you brought it up.
Okay. How about you? Okay, the one that comes to my head right now is, I think it's 1 John 1 verse 9, where it says that if we Bible says that if we sin, that we have we have a faithful God who will forgive us our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So we know that every time that we fall short, that we can always go back to God, because he's going to forgive us every single time.
With open arms.
With open arms, yeah. All right, next person, real quick roundtable.
I can go. I was going to say that also be kind to yourself. Also, if you've done it before, be gentle on yourself. Just like Ugo mentioned, it's okay for you to, well, it's not okay for you to do it if you're not married. It's okay for you to go back after you've done it, for you to actually receive that love back from that. I think one thing for me before I got married, after my past relationship, is knowing that I have a God who loves me so much, even more than my husband. Like, I have a God who is so loving of me. And it took me a while for me to be able to realize that. And that has helped me in my journey. So. Yeah.
Okay. I know you want to go real quick, Colin?
I would say that, I mean, since we talked about this yesterday, we'll just go with another verse, which says in Hebrews 13 verse 4, which says, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So this is to say that whatever you want to do in your marriage, it's okay. But at the end of the day, it still boils down to communication. If your partner is not okay with something, please respect that. You don't have to force or whatever. Just please be understanding. And if you feel guilty doing it afterwards, then you know that maybe you're doing something wrong. But if you feel like, y'all are good, then hey, do it. It's honorable, right? Yeah. That's what God says. Yeah. So, but yes, I believe marriage is amazing. Marriage is sweet. It's interesting, both highs and lows, but yeah, God's got you.
Yeah. And then from your several years of experience, you can say that confidently as well.
Shut up.
Gonna your turn. Where we go?
Okay, so very quickly, just going to be very realistic here. I'd like to just let everyone know that we live in a world where it's, we're struggling every day with conflicting opinions and about this particular topic. It's very important that, first of all, you need to know where you stand. Okay, so what really drives your own life? Make that determination. And if it's God that really drives your life, you need to know what God is saying about certain issues regarding sex or sexual activity. So make that determination. Know that obviously you're going to face opposition from everyone around you that may not necessarily agree with your perspective. But then I don't really know how to really quote Bible verses, but I know there's somewhere in the Bible that says that even though we live in this world, we're really not of this world. You know what I'm saying? So you need to really fashion your own path in God's kingdom here on earth. So basically, just try to do what is right and stand for what you believe in, which in this case should be God.
Yeah.
All right. Well said. Thank you guys so much for joining us today as we talked about what about oral sex. And so I think we have all really we've said it really well. And for those who missed us in this video, just to boil it all down to communication, having values and boundaries. And again, we were speaking solely from a perspective of Christianity because that's what we know, that's how we were brought up. And that is not to say that anyone who has done these acts is lesser than, because we have all made mistakes, and we never said that this journey would be one that would be taken with ease. It's just to say that this journey is one that you should not take alone, and it's one that you should take with with clarity and with a purpose. Okay, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you have.
Sorry. Are we doing a part 2 of this?
I feel like there's got to be a part 2. Like,
Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of questions coming to my mind, but since what?
Just write them down. Wait.
For part 2, this has to be the first question. Since I'm on this soul tie matter, so since soul tie involves 2 people, right? So it's masturbation. Are you creating soul tie for next time, Sha?
Okay, gotcha.
I got you. Next time.
You guys have to include also toys, also, because that's
Yeah. Okay, now you're just funny. All right.
All right.
Shout out to you guys. Great week.
Bye, guys.
And subscribe, share, comment, like, and be fantastic. Click on the ring-a-ding-ding so we can.
We're done.